Today is July 27th. This is day 21 of 366. Um, oh, this is really funny. This is really funny. K Rock. This is funny because today's memory is the cave, which Karen's mom brought this up yesterday. Just not knowing at all what was what I was going. I didn't even know what I was going into again. I kind of planned some of these out in advance, just so that I'm not scrambling every day to remember one of my stories. Um, but yeah, she had just mentioned the cavern. So of uh, day 21 of 366. Just the other day I talked about the Eisenhower Tunnel and being 11,000 feet above sea level. And so today, I'm going to go in completely the opposite direction, going 220 feet under the ground. Um, and this was one of the times that we visited the Shenandoah Cavern um, in Virginia, which on the website and all that, it lists itself as being, quotes, technically wheelchair accessible. But they make it clear they are not ADA, accessible. It's a cavern. Um, so basically, it just says it lets you know, hey, we have an elevator, and the elevator goes down to the base of the cavern, to the start of the cavern, to the entrance. After that, it's just gravel, rockways, and slopes and all that. So it's not like it's paved, and it's certainly not, uh, you know, based on, oh, it can only be this much of an angle or whatever. It's just the cavern. And we figured, well, if we can get in, then we're going. That's never stopped us from doing something like that before. So we go there, and great time. Get down to the cavern. It's like a mile and a half, I think, round trips. You go like 3/4 of a mile or a little more into the cavern. All underground. A couple of them, very you know uh, tight quarters in a couple different parts. Where you know it was like, okay, are we gonna be able to fit through there? And Karen would like get in front of me, and I'd guide her, and I had to lower my head. I think we even had to lower the back of the chair down once a little bit to get underneath this rock cropping. So we did that. Went as far as far as we could. There was one section that was just impossible. There was no way for wheelchairs to go up because it was this super super steep incline that went up to this kind of offshoot cavern. But that Karen and Dave and her mom, who went with us as well, who at that point I think was 90 or 91, something like that. Um, yeah, maybe 90. I think I'm gonna say 90. Um, and but just really great. Dave is claustrophobic. Um, you know, but he enjoyed it as well. I mean, there are times where it's obviously times where it's a huge cavern, and you don't even really think, oh man, I'm under the earth here. And then there are times, like I said, where it's tight, and we were able to maneuver the wheelchair around things and get deeper than probably we should have been able to get. And then there's parts where they turn out the lights, and there's like a wall that just lights up, fluorescent, and all of it's all on its own, and you know stones that are twinkling, and really really very cool. Very much, obviously you think of Journey to the Center of the Earth when you're there if you're a fantasy fan, and when we there was another guy in a pushing a manual wheelchair, that was there with someone who was pushing him around. And he was probably roughly my age. I couldn't tell. Maybe a slightly older. He wasn't an older individual. He had, yeah, but somewhere basically in the same age bracket. And so when we got to the one part where the wheelchairs just could not go, just the two of us stayed together down below. And the thing was, he did not speak English at all. He was French, or from, I don't know if he was French Canadian or French. I wasn't clear because he could not at all speak French Canadian. Karen says doesn't really matter for the story, but I'm glad that we took that extra time to verify that it was French Canadian, not French. He definitely spoke French, um, but yeah, we were sitting there hanging out and really couldn't communicate at all, uh, except that a few words that we understood, like hockey and and uh, and then Mario Lemieux. I was able to, I thought, he was able to say something along the lines of, where you we're from, and I was like, oh, from Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh, and he's like, oh, hockey. I was like, oh yeah, I love ice hockey. Mario Lemieux. Oh, Le Magnifique. And then he was like went off on this whole thing about Mario Lemieux, and didn't even know exactly what we were saying, but it was fun times. 220 feet down under the earth. Um, and then we're on our way back, leaving the cavern, and when you first get into the cavern, it's a very big, open cavern, but it's very steep. It's you know not so much that we couldn't go down it, but I remember thinking on the way in, huh, this could prove interesting. On the way out, because it's all stone, it's all gravel, and I knew, on the way out of here, man, we're gonna have to hit it and just keep momentum. Because there's some parts where the stones get a little thicker, and you don't want to stop and so we get there, and we're at the final thing, and I'm like, all right, turn up the power and let's go. Karen locks my hand in place. We start shooting up this big incline, and tires are sliding every so often one way or the other, but we're moving. Karen's walking fast, almost jogging alongside me, and chair, fishtails out a little bit one side, fishtails out over the other side, but we're keeping going. We're doing good. We get maybe almost 3/4 of the way up. 2/3, 3/4, and boom, fuse on my chair blows out. Whole chair just shuts down. We're like, oh no. And so there we are. Chair is completely dead. You know, the rest of the group eventually catches up to us. We explained to the tour guide, and filled Dave in and Karen's mom. Well, here's what happened, and everyone's like, oh, that's good. So we explained to the tour guide, go ahead, get the rest of the group out, and we'll see what we can do here. Well, it turned out that there was a middle-aged guy, a military veteran, that was in the group as well, and he was like, "I'll stay behind and help." And we were like, "Oh, thanks so much." So everyone else left. You know, we remembered and figured out, okay, there's a way to disengage the magnetic drives on the chair to make the wheels rotate freely, like turn it into more of an extremely heavy manual wheelchair. And so we got that all done, and then between Dave and the veteran and Karen walking backwards to steer because all they could do was push. Because it was, like I said, it was up this big incline and rocks. And so they were just providing the horsepower of going forward. And Karen's walking backwards, and I'm telling her, a little more to your right, a little more to your left, a little more left, so that she's pulling the chair one way or the other to make sure that we can get to the concrete platform up top. And we did, I mean, it wasn't overly long either. I mean, it was maybe 15, 20 minutes of trying to figure out how to disengage the wheels and all that, which we did. We got up there, we got back into the elevator, got out of the elevator, thanked the guy profusely. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, 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 you know." I can't remember if he had someone that was, or he was used to it or something along those lines, and it's just the kind of guy he was. So he was awesome. I got out of the elevator. Remembered that there was some way to reset the fuses on the chair. There was a button somewhere, so we tracked that down, pressed it. It worked. Yeah, the chair never really worked 100% after that. But it was an older chair anyway. I had it for years and years. We still got another year and a half or so out of it. Um, with another great story that will probably be here somewhere about Epcot Center um, with the wheelchair on a very hot day and a good adventure. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, so got the chair repaired, continuing on our day. But that is my story for July 27th, day 21, is our adventure 220 feet under the earth in Virginia in the Shenandoah Caverns.